Almost 2 decades ago, a former educator had an idea that led to this.
Welcome to Meridian High School on tonight's Stinky Sneaker basketball game between the Mountain View Mavericks and your Meridian Warriors.
This atmosphere is absolutely amazing. I can barely hear what you're asking right now because of how loud it is. It is ridiculously awesome.
Randy Fout graduated from Meridian High School. Later on, he taught there, and when Mountain View opened, he became an administrator with the Mavericks. He loved both schools and wanted to create something special.
The gist of it is Randy came to me one day and he said, hey, I got this idea. And he goes, I want to have a school spirit contest.
And so we got the student councils together and told them this is what we were thinking. We wanted it to be a student competition, not just about the game.
And after talking to him for a while, we're like, well, what are we going to have for the trophy? And he's like, let's just have an old Chucky Taylor tennis shoe. I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. And then he goes, you know what, we can call it the Stinky Sneaker. And I'm like, well, the shoe that you showed me definitely smells, so that's spot on.
The hard part was getting somebody to judge, you know, the student spirit. nobody wanted to do that.
No one wants the onus of that on them.
Yeah.
We need to get a stop and we'll run some good old. Here we go. If we don't get a chance to run Boston or we don't get a shot, we'll go into 5 game, all right? Let's go.
Randy was passionate about basketball, but he loved teaching and kids even more.
If you got to know Randy well, you realize that he was a man that had a deep faith in God, and he just had strong convictions. And with those convictions, it was really to treat people with the utmost respect. God gave him an extra measure of, I think, grace and compassion for kids, all kids, not just the kids that are great to be around, but the ones that can be really difficult.
As a kid, I remember delivering stuff to certain students' homes over holidays that maybe weren't going to have presents and weren't going to have food, and so there was occasional time that we would, load up and go, go get those. Well, we're a family living on a teacher's salary at that time too. There wasn't much, and Randy always had that propensity to want to give and to create and to share, and that just kind of was who he was.
I don't remember ever having less than 10 or 15 kids in his classroom every lunch, every day, just hanging out, which I think says a lot when kids are willing to hang out with teachers in their free time. I never wanted to. I know.
Sure.
But I think that says a lot about his character and about the relationships that he built with each kid over the years.
And so sometimes he got in trouble because he wanted to do things to get kids excited. But that was just Randy. That was how he was. And he didn't really care that much. He really didn't. It was like, yeah, he sort of got in trouble on this one, but it was what was best for students.
Tragically, Randy died in a car accident just months after the first game and never got to fully see what Stinky Sneaker would become.
When he died, hard time. What were your impressions there?
Yeah, we lived in Nampa as well, so that was hard. I would go to the intersection there and think about him and pray for Mary, and yeah, that was pretty unimaginable. That was difficult, but Randy, he wouldn't have wanted any of the awful, sad feelings. He would have just wanted us to have fun and to celebrate and to be the best we could be. And so that's how we honor him.
It's true. He wouldn't want to dwell on the awful. Randy was a man of faith and humor.
I don't know how many big trash bags of ugly ties that man had. but it had to have been in the tens of thousands.
He wore hideous ties.
What was his personality? I mean, it sounds like
He was funny. He was funny.
And it became a joke to us. And then we would go to the Goodwill and buy the ugliest tie we possibly could.
What do you think he would think about what that game has become?
Even after years, it's still hard.
I think he'd be overwhelmed that something could last that long. I mean, something as small as what he probably considered it at the time. I think he'd be incredibly proud of the student body of both schools.
He would have been thoroughly excited and enjoying himself for sure.
Oh, I think he would just be pleased as punch with that.
Yeah, just enjoyment, I think. He's looking down and saying, this is exactly what I was hoping for.
Ethan, you're here, right? Confusion, right? You're gonna come here, set him up, slow, 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 bang.
Let's face it, it's easy to scream at refs or the other team. But for Randy Fout, sportsmanship and kids were what mattered. So the next time we're in the stands, let's just cheer.
If the family could ask of anything, is keep the meaning what it was intended to be, and arrive at that game with the intent of being a great sportsman and passing that on so that all of the events have that.
And the winner of the 2022 Stinky Sneaker is Meridian High School.
I think, Randy would say that's what he would want to be remembered for, was, how he cared about not just people, but, kids especially, and he'd spent his life doing that. It was a calling for him.